When we hear the word breast cancer, most of us think of women. But here's a fact that surprises many. Breast cancer is the most common cancer in the world, with 2.3 million new cases every year. And while the majority are women, about 1% of all cases occur in men. That's tens of thousands of men each year. Today, we are breaking the silence around male breast cancer with a story of courage and resilience. Hello, everyone. I'm Dr. Priyanka Mathur, physician, founder, and CEO of MediPocket Cross-Border Care. At MediPocket, we help patients from around the world access advanced cancer treatments, clinical trials, and world-class US healthcare. But beyond access, our mission is also to bring awareness to conditions that are often overlooked, like breast cancer in men. And today, we have joined by Richard, a true warrior and survivor who is helping change the narrative about male breast cancer. Richard, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you very much. Thank you for having me. I'm very excited to share my story with everyone.
Let's start at the beginning. Can you take us back to the moment you first realized something was wrong? What symptoms led you to see a doctor?
So yeah, I'll start a little bit ahead of the beginning or beyond the beginning. On November 30th of last year, I woke up with an ache in my armpit, my right armpit, and I put my hand in there to feel, and I felt a lump. And that lump is actually what led me to seek treatment. But let me go back a little bit in time, or even a lot in time. Throughout my life, I have had cysts show up in various places. I've had one on my chin when I was younger. I had one in the back of my neck, had one in my hand. When I was around 10 years old, I actually had one in one of my breasts. I don't remember which. And I asked my mother if boys could get breast cancer, and she said, well, yeah, men can get breast cancer, but you're really young. But we talked to the doctor, and the doctor said it's most likely a cyst. It'll most likely go away. If it doesn't, then we'll deal with it. And it did go away. So no big deal. It was gone. And then when I had them show up in other times in my life, I waited. They always went away. About August, I don't remember the exact date, August to September of last year, I had a cyst show up underneath my right nipple. And I was like, well, it's another cyst. It'll go away. Waiting for it to go away, waiting for it to go away. It never went away. That was mistake number one. So that's really when I first noticed. And then as I was waiting for that cyst to go away, I noticed that my nipple was starting to kind of flatten out. And I didn't know anything about nipple inversion and breast cancer, so I didn't pay attention to that. It really wasn't until I felt the lump in my armpit and I said, wait a minute, I got a lump in my breast, I got a lump in my armpit, I need to go to the doctor. So, that was, I think, a Saturday morning. On Monday, I called. On Wednesday, I was in with my doctor. And to his credit, he's feeling everything and looking at everything. He says, I'm really concerned about that one under your nipple. Let's go get you a mammogram. Don't worry, men get mammograms all the time. You just don't hear about it, and breast cancer can happen. So we went, I went, got the mammogram, that and an ultrasound. And that evening, he called me and said, there's something suspicious about that. Let's get you a biopsy. So about a week later, I had a biopsy. That was December 13th. It was going to take 5 to 10 business days before they got the results. That's basically Christmas time. And so I had to wait all through Christmas. I didn't actually get a phone call about it until 2 days after Christmas. And that's when I got the message that I was actually out for a walk. It's a beautiful day here in upstate New York in December, and I'm taking a walk. My phone rings. I answer it. And basically, it was that phone call you don't want to get. One where they said, yes, the biopsy results came in and you have breast cancer. You have invasive, well, she didn't say invasive ductal carcinoma. They said you have breast cancer. I had 3 phone calls on that walk. One from the center that did the biopsy, one from my primary's nurse practitioner who was working that day, and then another from the center that did the biopsy to say we need to schedule you with a surgeon, an oncologist, to talk about the next steps. So that's actually what led me to it, and kind of how I got to the knowledge that I had that I had breast cancer.
I think that's listen to your body is so important, and I think you did listen to it. It might be a little bit because of the past experience with the cyst being coming the second time, but still you listen to it,
Yeah.
and and it's so interesting. Like mammogram for a male is always a very different, right? Because as rightly said, it's not common. And I don't. How was your experience going to that center? Because it might be all full of women, and you're the only one there. How's that?
Well, that was a snowy day, so there weren't too many people there actually. But yeah, it was all full of women, and I walked in, I walked in, they took me back and put me in the little room where you can take your, put the gown on and everything. And I said, "Do I really need to wear a gown?" I was like, "I'm just taking my shirt off, right?" And he was like, "Well, it's up to you. It's your comfort." Like, I don't have a problem walking around here with my shirt off. So, um, but yeah, it really wasn't. It wasn't that big a deal. And even follow-on visits going to the breast center here. Yeah, I think I was probably the only man in there other than maybe a doctor. And I don't even remember seeing a doctor that was male, to be honest with you. I was pretty much the only man in there. And you just have to do it. Like, you have something going on. You just go take care of it.
When you first heard the words "you have breast cancer" when you were walking, what was your immediate reaction?
Not what I had envisioned it being for the 2 weeks leading up to that. My vision was that it was going to be like you see in the movies where you break down crying and stuff. Honestly, my thought was, well, of course I do. It was like this. At that point, I just expected it because every step had taken me towards breast cancer, right? I had the lumps. That's a step towards breast cancer. You go to the doctor and he says, "I'm concerned." That's a step. Mammogram, that looks suspicious. That's a step. Go get the biopsy. Okay, well, I guess getting the biopsy is a step. And it's like, why is the next step not going to be you have cancer? Everything just was leading that direction. So my feeling at that moment was, of course I do. It hit me later. I had a pretty lousy night that night, but that was, that's like a noontime walk, and I was just kind of accepting of it. And then I just kind of started going down the what if hill, why me's and all of that sort of thing. But at that instant, I was just like, of course, what else would it be?
I also want to know, like, what were some of the unique challenges emotionally and socially of being a man diagnosed with breast cancer?
When I was in the meeting with the oncologist the first time, it was her and her nurse, that basically my caregiver, whatever, the nurse that was assigned to me. And I'm sitting there, and that's the one where the crying happens, right? And I was sitting there with my head in my hands and tears streaming down my cheeks. And the nurse said, "Are you upset because you will be viewed as less, you feel you'll be viewed as less masculine because you have breast cancer?" And I was like, "No, I'm upset because I don't want to die from breast cancer." But it's almost like you feel that it's expected of a man to be upset because he's got, what I'm going to use quotes, "a woman's disease," right? Because everybody thinks of women when they think of breast cancer. They don't think of men. And so they think if a man has it, he's going to be hit harder. He's going to be more emotionally hit. And a lot may. But for me, it was more that I know I have cancer. I don't want to have cancer. Nobody does, but I don't want anybody to know I have cancer. I want it to be, I want to deal with it. I want to get through it without anybody knowing. And it doesn't matter what kind of cancer it is at that point. It's just like, I just don't want to have it. But yeah, I guess I didn't feel, it's almost like I felt special because I had a cancer that most men don't get. which I know is kind of an odd thing to say, but I've always been kind of an overachiever, I guess. So I'm going to have to go do something most of the other guys don't do. Prostate cancer has been done plenty of times. I'm going to do breast cancer.
I love that. I mean, you really take things and turn it into a very positive perspective. And I think that is where the spirit has to be. It's all the mindset and spirit, as we say. Did you ever feel excluded from breast cancer awareness campaigns, since most of them focus only on women?
Yeah, so I guess everything so far has happened, let's say, after October, and that's when the big campaigns are, right? So there hasn't been any one campaign, so to speak, that I haven't been accepted to. I've actually been invited to participate in some, in at least one in October, because I'm a guy and I'm the only guy that they know that has breast cancer. So, I've actually been included for that reason, but there have been times where, well, I say other other organizations have been very inclusive. There have been times where maybe on social media or something, because you start following, I mean, you found me on Instagram. I follow a lot of accounts on Instagram. I found situations where someone posted something about breast cancer or a treatment or whatever, and I made a comment as a man, and I got pushback on being a man in a woman's world. On a man, yes, of course, you're going to try and turn this around to be it's about men. It's not about you. It's about women. Like, in the world of cancer, I'm one of you. I got the same thing that everybody on here has, and you're telling me I shouldn't be commenting because I'm a guy. So that I have received that kind of thing. I do know there are other people that I've communicated with online who have, one person says I'm a man in a pink world, and it's like, maybe everything shouldn't be pink. Let's put a little blue in there or something, because men get it too. So I guess the direct feedback I've gotten, the direct exclusion I've gotten, has been more in the social media world, not so much in like real world events.
Yeah, that little blue in all pink, definitely. It makes the colors more beautiful, I would say. Just one color shouldn't be there anyways, right?
Right.
So
I like the pink ribbon with a little bit of blue on it.
and I see that that's on your Instagram too. So
Yeah.
definitely you're gonna put that on the show, but that's definitely how it should be, right? I mean, medically that is how it is, right? And on the social media platform, I think it's a lack of awareness. And that's why people without a proper knowledge and awareness just jump onto conclusions or ideas, I believe. And that's why I think we need, like what you are doing with your awareness campaigns, and what we as a company are trying to bring is like, the diseases do not get restricted. Yes, there are some that get restricted by gender, but not this one, right? So it's very important to, because you have father, you have brother, you have husband in your family. Don't be blinded. Be open.
Right.
I mean, that is important. Be open, because it is always about getting it checked or diagnosed early, instead of ignoring and denying it as like, oh no, you don't fit into that criteria. Now, can you walk us through your treatment journey? Now, which part of that journey tested you the most?
My treatment journey started, well, of course, you go through all the staging scans and everything. I did that in January and found out I was stage 2, because I did have the tumor in my lymph node and I had the one in my breast. So I found out I was stage 2. I went to the medical oncologist here with the local hospital and breast center here, and was prescribed chemo, 16 weeks of chemo, and then surgery, and then radiation, and then probably tamoxifen for 5 years, right? The standard thing. And I decided, well, it was never even a question. I was always going to get a second opinion. And I'm lucky. I live 3 hours from New York City, and I live 3 hours from Boston, so I could get to Sloan Kettering, or I could get to Dana Farber. I asked the surgeon here who she would recommend for a second opinion, and she gave me two doctors' names at Dana Farber. And I did my own research on both institutions. And what I liked about Dana Farber was they have a program for men with breast cancer. And it's right up front on their webpage. You can go to Dana Farber and do your searches and stuff, and you'll get a picture with my oncologist on there, and my surgeon's name is listed there too. And so they were very open about it. It's easy for me to get to, blah blah blah. And I had a friend whose husband his life was saved by Dana Farber, so I knew of them. I knew of people with good experiences with them. So we called them up, made appointments. I actually made appointments with different surgeons and a different medical oncologist, and I got a phone call that said Dr. Leone, who is the program director for men with breast cancer, he really would like to meet you. So can we schedule you on a different day, time, and so forth? And we did. And then I got another phone call and it said, Dr. Dominici, who is the surgeon I had wanted but couldn't get, she will come. She said she'll come in early or stay late to meet with you on the day that you meet with Dr. Leone. I'm like, all right. So I had two well-known oncologists at Dana Farber asking to see me. Something's going on. This is pretty interesting. So we did. We went. My wife and I went to the first visit with Dr. Leone, and then he basically, make a long story short, he offered me participation in a clinical trial. And the clinical trial, it's called the Ethan clinical trial. I can't remember the exact words, what Ethan stands for, but it's endocrine therapies for men with breast cancer. And, you have to be like stage 1 through 3 and grade 1 or 2, and having had no treatment yet, no chemo or no surgery or anything. And he explained the whole thing to us, and he explained why there's, yes, the chemo I would have received at home is the standard of treatment. It's everybody knows it. I could have also been offered something that was endocrine therapy, like a standard of treatment for endocrine therapy, because I was stage 2, grade 1. Dana Farber could, it's kind of like flip a coin. You could go endocrine therapy or you can go chemo. But because of this trial, the trial was all about endocrine therapy, and there were multiple different iterations of drug combinations to go through the trial. And so, long story short on that, we decided to do it. So I joined the clinical trial. I was a participant number 9 in that trial. They're looking for 60 men. It's hard to get men because, one, the population isn't great. 2, there are only, at the time, there were only 6 participating institutions, Dana Farber being the leader, but other ones like the Mayo Clinic and MD Anderson and a few others. So everybody needed to know, any man needed to know about these institutions and go there and be offered the trial. So somebody in California wasn't going to get offered because they may go to the best place in California, but if they can't, they're not participating, they can't do it. So anyway, so I joined the trial, and excuse me, it went, I started on an aromatase inhibitor for 3 weeks, and I had to go get a biopsy as part of the science and part of the trial. And then I went on to gonadal suppression to reduce my testosterone, and abemaciclib to a CDK4/6 inhibitor. I went on those for 16 more weeks. And the roughest part of that was dealing with side effects that I didn't expect. There are side effects you expect. Hot flashes you're likely to get. They're no fun, but at least I knew they were coming. Some digestive issues, things like that they're coming. Even my whiskers were stopped growing. I didn't mind that one because I didn't have to shave every day. So that was nice. But the one that surprised me, so I don't know if you can tell, I'm wearing a Boston Marathon shirt. I'm a big runner. I run a lot of marathons, and I had 4 marathons scheduled during my treatment period. I had them scheduled prior to even knowing I had cancer. And I wanted to run them. So I was going to run them. And the first one I ran was when I was on the aromatase inhibitor, and I had no problem. And in fact, I had no side effects with the aromatase inhibitor alone that I knew of. So I had no problem running that one. The next one I ran after I had started all the other, added the other drugs to it. And I had a very difficult time finishing. About 18 miles through, I just started running out of gas. And I realized at that point, is like, I know that my red blood count is low because I was getting labs all the time. So I knew I had low red blood count. I knew that was a side effect. I'm like, I can actually feel that while I'm running. I just am not getting the oxygen to my muscles. But I finished the race anyway, but I did poorly. But I finished it. And I talked about that next time I went in. I said, I understand blood doping now because that's when you can add red blood cells, but I was subtracting red blood cells and I went the opposite way. And they're like, yep, that could happen. So anyway, that was really kind of a bummer. That went all the way through, and it got progressively worse. My performance just dropped and dropped and dropped. But I was not going to not run these races. There was more walking involved with them as I got further on, but I actually ended up running 4 marathons during active treatment. And the last meeting with my oncologist, Dr. Leone, I told him that, and I said, yeah, I understand blood doping and all that. He goes, well, don't forget androgen doping. I said, what do you mean? He said, people take testosterone to improve performance. 2 days after you had that first injection of the gonadal suppression, you had no testosterone. So you were running all these races with low blood count and no testosterone. That's just crazy. And I'm like, well, it's pretty cool to me, actually. Now I feel so much better about how lousy I did because I was in very depleted state and was able to do it. So that was rough to go through it, but it actually made me feel good to know I could do it.
That really gives you a title of overachiever because people walking with the chemo, I mean, as a medical standpoint, we ask patients, don't be bedridden. It's not that if you're going through these therapies, you just are bedridden. Do your at least normal activities, if you can't do more, strenuous activities, but at least do your normal, because, most people take this to be like, this is like the pause in the life, right? And they just stick to the bed or in their rooms or the chair. A lot of listeners should take from it is the spirit. Your body went through a lot, and that is how, as a cancer patient, you go through a lot. But if you can make your mind feel normal, or maybe do as regular committed things you have planned, my plan will not change because a diagnosis came.
I was not going to let cancer stop me from doing what I normally do. I mean, if I didn't have cancer, I actually would have run a couple more marathons but I was not going to not do these races. I'm going to be my normal person. Even if I have to walk more, even if it hurts a little more, I'm going to do it. And, everybody was telling me be as normal as you can. Yes, exercise is good. I was getting a few, your body's going through a lot, you should take it easy. Okay, I'll take it easy. This means I'm going to walk a little bit more in my marathon.
You also mentioned about second opinion, which again we advocate a lot at MediPocket. One part we offer to international patients because they don't live in the region, they don't live in the country, here. They don't even live in that close to where they can just drive or even fly. So what we offer to our international patients is remote second opinion consultation. So let's say a patient sitting in India diagnosed with breast cancer. that person can consult with a Dana-Farber expert, Mayo Clinic expert, and can also learn about if there's any new treatment, clinical trials available before they go into the regular traditional method of, of chemo and all that. And that is where to learn from, like, again, as you just said, I'm not going to start without a second opinion, maybe not one, maybe two, right?
Mm,
That is the power of second opinion. Sometimes we do not see the value because it feels like, oh, it's just a consultation. That changes everything.
yeah,
That like your consultation took you to the path, non-traditional but more effective, which most people may not, or most doctors may not even know or have understanding about until unless you take a second opinion from a
right.
different hospital.
I know the medical oncologist here wasn't aware of that clinical trial. He
Yeah.
didn't know about it until I did a little double check on the second opinion, right? I told him what I was being offered, and he checked it out and he goes, yeah, that's a good trial. I mean, here are my questions and things, but he didn't know about it before I introduced him to it. And, if he had, he could have said, if you go to Dana-Farber, you can get in this trial. But
Right.
so not only did I get to help myself by not having to have chemo and do something that was allowed me to have a better quality of life for those 19 weeks than I probably would have had on chemo. I got to share knowledge of a clinical trial with another medical institution who maybe they will now recommend people go check this one out. And I also got to be part of the science. So that, I mean, that does a world of good for your attitude too, to know that not only am I helping myself, but whatever the result is from this trial, I mean, the drug plan that I'm on may or may not end up being the best one. I don't know. I only know what mine was and how it worked, and it worked well. But I'm by being a part of it, I'm not only supporting research, I am the research. So I get to help every man that comes after me. And that's, you want something to boost your positivity, to boost your mood, to boost your enthusiasm for what you're going through. That's really powerful to know that not only am I doing myself good, but I'm doing every other man in the world good. It's
Amazing. Powerful.
pretty strong.
That is pretty strong. During this period, how did your family and loved ones support you through this journey?
So I pretty much won the lottery on supportive family. I have everybody was 100% supportive. My wife is a very good advocate on her own. She was with me at every appointment, except like she doesn't go to radiation with me because I walk in, get zapped, and walk out. But anyone where there was consultation with doctors, she was always there, and she provides a second perspective or another perspective on what they're saying. Plus, which sometimes I hear things and other things go over my head, and then she catches those other things. So we would, it's a 3-hour drive to Dana-Farber and 3-hour drive back. We had a lot of time to talk about it on the way back and what we heard and what, make the decisions if we had decisions to make or whatever. So I had a lot of support from her. I've got a lot of brothers and sisters, and they're all like totally supportive. Everybody would do, if I needed anything or asked anybody for anything, they would be right there. So I had great family support. I had great friend support. Um, it was amazing.
From your perspective, why do you think male breast cancer is so rarely discussed?
I think there are two main reasons.
Why do
One is just lack of awareness. The number of people, women included, who said, I didn't know men could get breast cancer. Like, okay, well, so if people don't know, they're not going to talk about it, right? And then there is the masculinity part of it. And it can't be me kind of part of it where, men don't want to talk about the possibility of them having, again, a woman's disease. And if they feel something, they don't act quickly. Luckily, I mean, I didn't even act as quickly as I could have and maybe should have, but I got that other strike and I acted right away. Um, but so they'll just kind of let it ride, and hopefully it goes away. And then unfortunately that generally means men get diagnosed at a later stage, and I think that's one of the reasons that survivability for men is not as good as it is for women. And it's talked about all the time for women. You see commercials on TV all the time, and October is going to be pink everywhere. Bars are going to be having fundraisers, and there's going to be 5Ks and all kinds of stuff, but it's all focused on women, and men just don't feel included, and they don't believe it could be them, so they just don't talk about it. So I think those are the two main things: is one, the awareness, and two, the masculinity part. And you got to check your masculinity at the door when it comes to your health. It's like, I got news for anybody listening. If you're alive, you have breasts. I could whip my shirt off and show you what a male breast looks like and what a male no breast looks like, because I got them both right here. Because I did have a mastectomy. I had a full mastectomy, and I had 6 lymph nodes removed as well. So, and my pecs are still completely intact. I can lift the same weights that I did before. I would not know if I didn't touch. I would not know that I had something missing there. So complete. I can use my arms exactly like I did before, but I have a hole right here because I didn't do any reconstruction. I'm just going to rock my scar. I have a hole right here that will help you see how much breast a man really has. So it doesn't matter how strong and muscular and Arnold Schwarzenegger you are, there's a breast in there.
Do you think also, because of lack of awareness, lack of the society accepting it to be a cancer, not just a women cancer, labeled, the screening programs, one of the reason why there are more women get detected early is because there's a lot of screening programs, even through your insurance. You take mammogram at over 40, you can take every year if you have a history, depending on the history in your family, it could be every 2 years, every 1 year, but there's a lot of screening programs for women breast cancer. But I think, again, even from a medical perspective, we are looking at to be more properly as like there should be screening program for males.
Yeah,
right?
I agree.
Yeah.
I totally agree. I will go back to my own primary care physician. I like him a lot, so this is no slam on him. It's more the standard. I had my annual physical exam in June of last year. I guarantee you stuff was going on there. And had he done a breast exam on me, he probably would have found that cyst back then. But it's not part of what you normally do. I get my colonoscopy, I have my PSA tested every year, and all the other stuff that they do, but they never will check them. They don't check a man's breast. They don't check the lymph nodes in the armpits. And I have, because of all my therapy and surgery and stuff, I had to push out my annual physical till the end of this month. But he and I are going to have a talk about it. I'm like, I want you to feel the one breast I still have. And why not do it on every man that comes in here? You know how to do it. It's not going to hurt anything. You're doing far more invasive stuff to them with your regular physical. So just check. What's it going to hurt? And it could have saved me 6 months. Again, I'm not casting any stones or anything, but it could have saved me 6 months. He might have found it. So I do believe, just as part of your normal physical exam, the doctor should just do it. And men, obviously, is like, just get used to feeling it. And if you feel it, call your doctor. It's not going to hurt anything to call your doctor. And maybe he'll say, it's nothing. Maybe you'll say it's, go get a mammogram and we'll see, but if you don't call, if you don't ask for it, you're not going to get it.
About be open about it, right? It's
Yeah,
this body. And I very like you said, like men have breasts too, which is true, but we just think breast in a different way, and that's why we cannot relate it. Common people can't relate it well, but also the medical society, right? Most get at the very, last stage, like stage 4, because they deny it. Their
right.
prime care would never check it because that's the area you do not touch for various interesting reasons. Why not?
Why
You know,
not?
why
Why
not?
not? Like I said, you touch me in more invasive ways than that. just,
You
just
know,
feel my boob, okay?
you're rightly said. So I think it's the society. Let's open up and to make sure that every body parts, and this is a body part also for men, to be checked in the physicals.
Introduce it so easy. So easy. Yeah, and I'm not saying every man should get a mammogram on the same schedule that women get a mammogram, but hopefully you're going to your doctor once a year anyway for a checkup, and just just to have him check, him or her, whatever, check. Why not?
Finally, Richard, how has surviving breast cancer changed your outlook on life? And what are you doing now as an advocate of it?
So I've always had a pretty positive outlook on life, and I have pretty much viewed this whole cancer journey. Once I got on the clinical trial and got on active treatment, I viewed the whole thing kind of as an adventure, because I guess the alternative is just so scary. Um, but how has it changed? I appreciate every day. Again, I appreciated it before, but something that hit me when I was on a walk the other day was just being able to watch a tree go by as you walk by and see it change in 3 dimensions. It's like it's just kind of magical the way that looks. And there's a lot around you to just appreciate. So appreciate it. Um, you never know when it could be taken away from you. So just appreciate everything.
Richard, thank you for sharing your journey with such honesty and courage. Your story reminds us all that breast cancer does not discriminate. It affects both women and men, and awareness can save lives. To our listeners, here are some key takeaways from today's conversation. Breast cancer is the most can save lives common cancer worldwide, with 2.3 million new cases each year. Men represents about 1% of those cases. That's tens of thousands of diagnoses annually. Stigma and lack of awareness often delay diagnosis in men. Early detection through self checks is critical. Support, mindset, and community are essential in recovery. At MediPocket, our mission is to not only connect patients with world class care, but also raise awareness around these conditions. If this episode inspired you, please subscribe and follow us for more stories from warriors like Richard and insights from the front lines of global healthcare. Together, let's break the silence, fight the stigma, and bring care without borders.